Howdy y'all! Today is steering column day. Now, we've been waiting on a couple of items to complete our manual steering column conversion here. In previous videos, y'all saw the conversion to the U-joint stuff. We did go ahead and get our new turn signal switch installed. That's all nice and fresh. Turn signal switch seems to work. Now, some of the stuff that came up after we pulled the old steering column out was that this plate, as you guys can see, is missing a big chunk out of it. Well, I guess the last person who put this car together 20 or 30 years ago didn't know how it worked, and they made some questionable modifications there. But that, it basically kind of leaves a big hole going into the cap. And also, upon inspection of our old steering column, let me show you this, guys. It's kind of scary. Alright, this is the end of the steering column. Now, look at what you see there. I see a part that was never intended to go in this car. Yeah, that has been cut down and re-welded to some proper length. So, yeah, it's stuck. Is it good for a steering shaft to be welded? Well, you do what you have to, I guess. I don't like it. So, now that we've been hunting for random spare parts, we found a new plate, and we even found the corresponding small one that goes there, and they even are nice and shiny, painted black, maybe even powder coated, I don't know. But we did go ahead and make kind of a gasket for it. I'll show you all that. You can get the foam style gaskets for these still brand new. Didn't feel like waiting, so we've used a bunch of this 5mm sound deadening material, heavily rubberized stuff, very squishy, and it will compress onto the firewall. Should give us a pretty tight seal. So, let's get it installed. Alrighty guys, as you can see, there's a steering column installed here. It's about the fourth time that it's been in the car at this point. I'll tell you why. It was too short. Now you're thinking, DW, remember that time you cut a big chunk of the steering column off and attached that fancy U-joint? Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't exactly the problem though. What I found was that the steering shaft in these columns is collapsible. Starting in '67, that was a safety feature. Keep you, if you're in a front end accident, that the steering wheel doesn't impale your chest. Well, this is a used steering column. Got it off eBay as normal. And yeah, the steering column was compressed a little bit. Probably inch, 2 inches at least. Got it separated. I even found a mark from previous owner that probably went through the same fitment issues, and either they gave up or they did something else with the car. I don't know. But long story short, our steering column is now the correct length. It is connected to the steering gearbox, and I think we're ready to take it out again, and we can reassemble all of the little bits and pieces that I have taken apart 2 or 3 times now to do this, because to expand the shaft, pretty much got to pull it out of the column. There's not a lot of other better ways to do it. So we'll get this out again, and we'll reassemble it. I'll show you what I found. Alrighty guys, back on the bench. Let's show you all the quick breakdown on how to do all this fun stuff. So we have our old turn signal switch in here kind of as a dummy, as that is what holds all the top bearing from popping out when you start messing with this stuff. We'll get that off right quick here. Remove your lock plate. That's what captures the remnants of the antique turn signal switch, and basically keeps this top bearing from popping out on you whenever you're not wanting it to. Now we can remove the snap ring. Oh, snap ring. There we go. Snap ring. And I'll give her a quick little tap right there, and steering shaft will slide right on out. Let me show you what we had to do here. So this steering shaft was probably a solid inch, maybe an inch and a half almost, too short. So I put a washer and a bolt down here and used my brass drift punch to pull this out by putting this in a vise, holding it steady. When I pulled it out, I made a mark right there, Sharpie. And when I pulled it out, I found another mark. Who would have thunk? Someone's been here before. Now, what I do know is I do want to go ahead and bring this out just a touch more. And I'll show you how we did that. Because as far as I can tell, guys, this steering shaft right here probably could have been used on almost any Mopar passenger vehicle from 67 to 69. This is a double D shaft, and it slips into this little squared off section, and it'll go all the way down into here if this were to collapse on you in an accident. Now Mopar in their infinite wisdom used that as a, I believe, cost-saving measure, because we can make this fit all our cars. Now, in the event that y'all are swapping from manual to power steering, you may find that you actually don't need the power steering column or the manual steering column. You might be able to adjust the length of this steering shaft to fit your needs. I don't know that for sure. Your experiences may vary, but I'll show you how I adjusted this. Alright, we've got our steering shaft mounted up in the vise. Our steering joint down here is firmly up against it, so that we can drive this out a little bit. What I've used is a 1/2 inch 20 lug nut, big flat washer. We're just going to thread this on the end of the steering shaft. Alright, snug that up. Grab your hammer and drift punch. Brass drift punch because here's some splines right down here. We don't want to mess those up. Let's get this old one out of our way. So, I want to add another like 1/4 inch to this. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, but what we're going to do, take our punch here, just kind of hold that up and drive it out. And one more for good luck. Maybe 2. Alright, so that's my final adjustment on there. We can put this mess all back together now. Alrighty, reassembly is pretty straightforward, guys. Remove our tools there. We want to make sure that right here where this little collar is nice and clean, because you will never get your snap ring to seat in that little groove right there if there's a bunch of crap there. We're good. We're going to slide this back home. And this can be done without removing the lower column bearing, guys. And if you're careful with it, it won't push out the top bearing either whenever you get it all the way home. Oh, and we pushed out the top bearing. That's okay. Alright, now that we've got that there, guide the top column bearing back in nicely. And let's just make sure the groove is all the way through it, which it is. Can reinstall our snap ring, make sure it's fully seated, and it is. Alright. And from there, we can reinstall turn signal switch, all the goodies, and test fit this one more time, I hope. Okay, back in the car. We're a one-man show at the moment, but this job can be done by yourself. So, first off, we're gonna send her home. And get it kind of close. Now we can let it rest right there. Alrighty, now that we are down here in the engine bay, we can take our slip joint. Oh, went a little too far. Get it set there and install the pin. Alright, that is in. And now we can go back in the cab and mount the column to the dash. Alright, so as you can see, now we are in position here. Now the trick here is to leave this bottom plate off until you get it set up onto the steering gear box. Reason is to get this pulled far enough back so you can start the splines and get it on the studs that stick out of the bottom of the dash. It's impossible. Well, it's not impossible if it's too short. Yeah. So, quick tip, remove this first. And we are going to just get it set in place here, and we can determine how far off we actually are now. We don't want it too far into the dash, and we don't want it, too close to the seat. And there's definitely a large amount of adjustment, well, at least an inch, guys, that can definitely be had depending on your preference there. So, slightly adjust. Alright, so it's still too short. We're gonna go ahead and pop it out again. Alrighty guys, that does it for today. I think steering column installation point has been made. They're adjustable. Who would have thought? Now we know. During installation, also found out that these little white insulators that go right here, yeah, they're in pieces now because they're 50 years old. We're gonna have to order some more of those. But hey, whenever it's all done, we'll know it's secure, it's the proper distance out, everything will work as intended and be sealed up well. That's the most important thing. So, that does it for today, guys. We've got some really cool content coming up. Old Duddy at Duddy's Adventure has finally got his crap together with all the parts necessary to build a 408 stroker junkyard engine. We've got a couple of videos out already on tearing that sucker down. Check them out if you haven't. But anyway, we'll see you next time.